By December 1944, the Third Reich was crumbling. The Allies had liberated Paris and were driving toward the German border. Soviet armies were grinding toward Berlin from the east. Hitler's generals advised defense. Instead, the FHRER launched his most desperate gamble, a massive armored offensive through the Ardennes Forest. The goal: split the Allied armies, capture the port of Antwerp, and force the Western Allies to negotiate a separate peace. It was a plan that defied military logic, but Hitler was no longer listening to logic. The German attack plan, codenamed Wacht am Rhein, or Watch on the Rhine, was organized into three armies. In the north, Sepp Dietrich's 6th Panzer Army would spearhead the offensive, driving for Antwerp. Through the center, Hau von Manteuffel's 5th Panzer Army would wheel to the west, isolating American forces. In the south, the 7th Army would guard the flank. Over 250,000 German troops, 600 tanks, and 1,900 artillery pieces were secretly massed opposite a 90-mile section of the American front, and the Allies had no idea. The Ardennes Forest was considered a quiet sector, a place where worn-out American divisions could rest, and new units could gain experience. The terrain was dense, hilly, and laced with narrow roads. The Americans trusted the forest to protect them, but the same forest that blinded the Allies also concealed the largest concentration of German armor since Normandy. The German plan relied on a critical advantage: terrible weather that would ground the overwhelming Allied air forces. With the skies closed, the Luftwaffe would have a chance. At 5:30 a.m. on December 16, 1944, a massive German artillery barrage crashed down on the American lines. It was the heaviest bombardment experienced by U.S. troops in the entire war. In dense fog and freezing temperatures, German infantry and tanks poured through the Ardennes. The American front, held by just 80,000 men, was shattered. Entire units were overrun. In the north, the experienced U.S. 2nd and 99th Divisions held at Elsenborn Ridge. In the center, the Green 106th Division was nearly destroyed. 2 entire regiments surrendered. The Germans had punched a gigantic bulge into the Allied lines. At 5:30 a.m. on December 16, 1944, a massive German artillery barrage crashed down on the American lines. It was the heaviest bombardment experienced by U.S. troops in the entire war. In dense fog and freezing temperatures, German infantry and tanks poured through the Ardennes. The American front, held by just 80,000 men, was shattered. Entire units were overrun. In the north, the experienced U.S. 2nd and 99th Divisions held at Elsenborn Ridge. In the center, the Green 106th Division was nearly destroyed. 2 entire regiments surrendered. The Germans had punched a gigantic bulge into the Allied lines. To spread chaos behind American lines, German commandos under Otto Skorzeny infiltrated wearing American uniforms. They cut phone lines, misdirected convoys, and spread panic. At the Bastogne crossroads near Malmedy, soldiers of the 1st SS Panzer Division gathered 84 unarmed American prisoners of war in a field and opened fire. The Malmedy massacre became a rallying cry for American troops in the Ardennes. In some units, oral orders circulated that no SS prisoners would be taken for the remainder of the battle. As the German drive gained momentum, one small Belgian town stood in their path: Bastogne. The town sat at the intersection of 7 roads, the only way to move heavy armor through the Ardennes. On December 18th, the 101st Airborne Division, still recovering from combat in Holland, was rushed into Bastogne hours before the German encirclement closed. On December 20th, the town was surrounded. The Americans had little food, almost no ammunition, and only winter gear. On December 22nd, a German delegation approached the American lines with a surrender ultimatum. The acting division commander, Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe, responded with a one-word reply: nuts. The German officers did not understand the slang. An American staff officer explained, "You can take it as meaning, go to hell." The Americans would not surrender. For 8 days, the 101st held Bastogne against repeated German assaults. The weather had cleared on December 23rd, allowing Allied transport planes to drop food and ammunition to the besieged troops. While Bastogne held, General George S. Patton executed one of the most brilliant maneuvers of the war. In just 48 hours, he pivoted his entire Third Army 90 degrees, something his German opponents thought impossible, and drove north toward Bastogne through blizzard conditions. On December 26th, the 4th Armored Division broke through the German lines, ending the siege. Meanwhile, the German offensive had stalled. The 6th Panzer Army was stopped at Elsenborn Ridge. The 5th Panzer Army had run out of fuel. By early January, when Hitler authorized a withdrawal, the German army had lost over 100,000 men, 800 tanks, and 1,000 aircraft. The United States had lost 80,000 men, Berlin, Hitler had wasted his last reserves in a futile gamble. The Ardennes offensive was the last major German offensive of World War II. After this, the Wehrmacht would never attack again, only retreat. The lesson is simple: desperate gambles do not win wars. Logistics, intelligence, and overwhelming industrial might do. Just the grit and the grind of war.